Well, welcome to another episode of the Grazing Sheep Podcast. I'm your host, Big Tom Perkins, along with Dr. Cameron Meyerly. And I had to giggle there because Cam just got his phone sitting absolutely perfect. I started in the intro and the phone fell over. So I thought
It
that
did. It
I thought
did.
that was kind of
Was
funny.
not expecting that.
No, I thought that was pretty funny. You're in Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still in Iowa. We're gonna try to get some recordings done here for future episodes because you're actually planning on making the trip over to Mexico, Missouri
Yep,
and the Katahdin Expo.
yep. I've never been to
Are you
Missouri.
excited for that trip?
Well, I've never been to Missouri and I've never been to Mexico, so I figure I can kill two birds with one stone. I think
The
that's
double whammy.
the double whammy. Yep. So I can tell people I've been to Mexico and I've been to Missouri. I can't believe I've never been to
Yeah.
Missouri.
Yeah, we were
As much playing and touring as we did, but for the life of me, I could not think of a single place that we played at in Missouri. There had to have been. We had to have at least driven through it. I don't know.
right,
I don't remember
right.
any. So
Yeah, Missouri is one of those states. I've only had the privilege of visiting a couple of times, but um I feel like it's overlooked a lot of times. And then when you get there, there's a bunch of grass and a bunch of livestock production. And um, I don't know if they offer a whole lot else other than that, or a whole lot else I'd be interested in
well,
other than that. But
I talked to a neighbor. He's a truck driver, and he said that he's been to Mexico, Missouri, and he hauled a load of bricks out of there one time. So I don't know.
really,
They must have a brick plant there, or somebody just had a pile of bricks they needed hauled. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah,
right?
that's the
Yeah, no,
only, yeah, he's the only person I met that knew anything about Mexico, Missouri.
that's funny. Yeah, the you mentioned we're in Spencer. The sale is actually, while we're recording this, sale's going to happen here in a couple of hours, and we thought we would save some of the recap of Spencer until after the sale's over because it's kind of fun to report those prices and do an overview. We did that last year and had a really good educational meeting yesterday, and that ran all morning and into the afternoon, and a fun lineup of speakers, a really good diverse set of topics. And so that's kind of fun when you kind of bounce around to a bunch of different topic ideas and topic areas because it's a really diverse crowd out here. You know, you've got some polypape breeders that are out on grass that are grazing those sheep pretty intensively, and then you've got polypape breeders that are selecting sheep to work in those confinement operations, high output type operations. You've got Suffolk producers that have very differing opinions on what that sheep needs to look like and how it needs to perform. And again, just a lot of same thing with a lot of the other breeds. So it's always a treat to look at what's out here. Um, and then what's interesting to me is the sale portion of it. You know, we were talking last night of, well, what's going to be the high seller in each breed, and it really just depends on who decides to show up today.
Yeah.
There's some different types and kinds of sheep here that if the right people show up, they're going to sell for a lot of money, um, and then if a different type and different producers with different goals show up, that other set of sheep are going to sell for a lot of money. So it's always interesting to me, but uh, yeah, it's been a good trip, and I'm excited to get home for for a little bit, but um, yeah, it's been good. Then, like you said, you're hitting the road. Should be a good expo, and you are not consigning anything. Do you have your eye on buying anything out there?
No, not really. Just kind of going to see people, just to experience it. Definitely be some educational programs there as well, and I'm interested to sit in on those. And like I said, never been to Mexico, so there's excited about that.
Yep. Well, the thing is, you're not a big Mexican food
No,
proponent.
no. So
And
I
I was shocked
take the
when we
sandwich
were in,
with me.
yep, yep. When we were when we were in Cookeville, Tennessee, this breakfast place that I
Yep,
think we might have talked about on here briefly.
yep.
Yeah, Tom's description of it, it's like it's a Mexican restaurant, but they serve breakfast. And I'm like, Tom, you've got to be mistaken on this. I have never seen anything like this ever before. And finally figure out the name of it, Grandma's Pancake House or whatever it was. And
Take grandma's
um,
thing.
it's like that okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that definitely is not, you know, a Mexican dining establishment. And we get in there, and it was like you would ask someone who had run a Mexican restaurant to decorate for an American breakfast restaurant. And I was like, yep, this is Tom's vision of and Tom's description of a Mexican restaurant that serves breakfast was so spot on. It was shocking. I had never seen anything like it. But
Yeah.
we
It was,
got our we got our pigs in the blanket, got our sausage wrapped in pancake, and that was good. That's probably the best breakfast we had had while we were down there.
oh yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was run by really nice folks, and they were all Hispanic. So I'm assuming that's why it was decorated the way it was. But it was really good food and good service. It was quick, you know. But yeah, I can't say enough about it. I can't wait till the next time I get to go there.
it's next time you
I
go
never
through.
thought I'd ever get to go there again. And when I found out that's where the symposium was, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, what if that place is still there? I gotta get the pancakes or sausages wrapped in pancakes. And
Yeah. Oh,
I thought this was the most amazing thing. And when I started asking people, telling people about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's pigs in a blanket." And where I grew up, that's not at all what pigs in a blanket are. It's some kind of a meat with.
croissant,
Well, I've heard of
a
those.
croissant wrap hot dog.
I've heard of those, but growing up, it was kind of like a meatloaf with a bunch of peppers in it, wrapped in cabbage. And
Yeah.
so I think it's more of the German influence of pigs in a blanket.
Yeah,
So
that one's different than what even I what even I grew up with. But
yeah,
once I've told everybody about these pancakes, you know, the sausage wrapped in pancakes, they're like, "Oh, well, you can go get one of those sausage corn dogs at the grocery store." So that might be Tom's new favorite
I might
breakfast
have to
food.
I might have to hunt them out. I see what those are like. I don't know, but these were
Yeah,
amazing. I love them. I'd eat
they
breakfast
were
every day
they
if I
were
could.
very, very, very
Yeah,
good. I guess while we're talking about food, you've been out making hay, making food for those sheep over the winter,
yep,
and you've been fortunate on one hand, have some drier weather to make hay, get hay dried down quickly, and then also maybe less fortunate to have no rain and not be a little concerned about stockpiling some grass for some extended grazing season this fall. So did that's going well, and you're in the tractor most of the day for the past 2 days, and then tomorrow.
yep. It's it was one of those things where it was so wet in the spring, the forage was so abundant, we just made the decision to take a few fields off for hay. And then not to mention our hay guy raised the hay prices. And so we just figured, well, let's just make some of our own. We have all the equipment. Let's just go do it. And we had grazed through some of these fields as much as 3 times. So it really was not like a first cutting hay. There was some hay in there that was headed out, but it was more like a second cutting type of hay. And we fed a little bit of that already, and it's really nice hay. The sheep just devour it. So we're pretty happy with that. And we got a few timely rains um, that the second cutting from those fields came on pretty good. And we just decided we'd go ahead and take that off as well. But I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago, and they talked about here in PA that we ended up with what they called a flash drought. Now, I've
Mm,
never heard of this before, but basically what they said was the ground was really saturated, and then it stopped raining and it got crazy hot, and it literally just sucked all that moisture right out of that ground. And
interesting.
I've never heard that term before, but when I read the article, I'm like, well, that's exactly what happened because we had
Yeah.
long days in the 90s and we're just not used to that. And that ground got dry super, super fast. And we've had a couple of half-inch rains, and you walk out the next day and it's like you didn't get any rain at all.
Yeah.
Within a day, all the mud puddles dry out again, and it's pretty nuts. So we don't know whether we're making a mistake or not. Some of this is on the neighbor's ground, and that's basically free hay for us, so we're more than willing to go over. And he has an old baler and one horse. He just wants to do one windrow. So been more than happy to trade the labor and the fuel and the machinery for, to prepare that for him so we can have the rest of it. But we're gonna go over and got that all mowed and Ted. We're gonna go out and Ted some of that again today and start doing a little bit of raking today and finish up that raking tomorrow and go in and round bale all that. Shouldn't take us all that long, but it's supposed to rain on Monday. We would like to get those bales brought home under roof, all taken care of from there. But
Yeah, and it's a relieving feeling when you get that hay in the barn, and then you say, okay, we're good. We're at least covered for X number of days this winter.
yeah,
Um, that's an exciting feeling to have.
it's a bit unnerving that we're going to be doing it on a Sunday. I don't like working on Sundays um, any more than I have to, but the rain's coming Monday, so we definitely need to get it done. The unnerving part always is you always worry about breaking down. It's some simple little part that
Mm,
you can run to the dealership and get that part, but they're not going to be open.
right,
So you have
right.
all the hay exposed and it's gonna be raining, 7 a.m. Monday morning. So who knows what will happen. But the as far as the sheep go, this is about as big as our flock has ever been. We haven't sold much at all here in the spring. We're pretty much gonna run a lot of these lambs clear through till late fall, early winter to sell them. So it's a pretty big flock at this
Hmm.
point. And they're moving across this ground a lot faster than I like to see it.
And the
And
regrowth just isn't kicking in as quickly as what you'd like.
seed growth is really slow. And the
Yeah.
other odd thing about this year um, is there's just no clover. You have to walk a good ways to find a clover plant.
In your first grazing passes, was it in the mix?
I think there was. I didn't notice that there wasn't. You gotta remember the first couple passes we did, the grass had just kind of greened up and we were putting, I don't know, 60, 70 ewes on like 2.5, 3 acres just for one day. So you're literally just taking the tops off. Um, there is a part of me that's wondering, did they go through and select out all the clovers and really set those clovers back? It's kind of one of those things we don't know. Well, I know those sheep were definitely filled up. Um, First time ever to do, daily moves. We actually had to go get the dog to move the sheep because they were so full they weren't interested in moving.
Hmm.
Typically I just go to the corner of the fence and call and they all come up and I would call and call and call and they're just laying there chewing their cuds. They weren't one bit interested in moving. And just because they were full.
Yeah,
So
which is awesome. I mean, that's fun when you see sheep that have that gut fill and are doing what they're supposed to be doing out on pasture. I know the clover dilemma. We had a situation last year, or maybe it was the year before. We had it was a new seeded hayfield that had been in production for a couple of years and had gone with the red clover, medium red clover variety. And one thing you have to remember is that plant is a biannual. So two 2 years and it's out.
Yep.
I always bank on that plant reseeding
Yep.
itself, and so we tend not to put additional clover seed on unless we show up and there's not the clover density that we would want to see. And so that's something that just keep that in mind. If you're out grazing and you think your clover, if you're taking that clover off before it flowers every single year, it doesn't have a chance to reseed itself. That's, I think, really hard to do. Just as rapid of growth cycle as what clover has. But um, the other nice thing, the silver lining to all of that, is it's relatively inexpensive when we think of legume seed, and pretty easy to establish when we're looking at a frost seeding model or just a broadcast and light incorporation, and it takes off pretty well and pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to, we gotta see if we can get you to take some pictures of what that kind of pasture looks like now, and the clover population, and then again like next spring, and
Yeah.
see if you get some of that seed bank that has clover in it. It's got clover seed in that
Oh
seed
yeah.
bank because
Yep.
it's been in pasture for long enough. And to see next spring if you see a similar situation to what you're seeing right now, or if that clover actually comes in and starts to fill in some of the gaps that you might have in that pasture environment. But it's the other, we're talking about pasture, the other thing we should not just skim over is, surprised Tom was even able to hop on here because of his celebrity status, making the front page of the Farm and Dairy,
Yeah.
which is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. We did that pasture walk, and the editor of the Farm and Dairy, Rachel Wagner, we'll give her a shout out. She was here. I know Rachel. She's got a small Katahdin flock, a pretty good Katahdin flock. She's been culling really hard from the beginning. And so she came out and had brought her kids out. First time I got to meet her kids. They're toddlers, I guess. Well, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know if that's still considered toddlers or not.
I don't know where most people draw the
Yeah, I
line.
have no idea where that line's drawn. I know Wyatt, um, he was busy catching lightning bugs, and I'd be right in the middle of a talk, and he'd walk right up and Mr. Tom, and he'd want to show me his lightning bugs. So I'd have to stop and because I had important business to take care of. I had to see Wyatt's lightning bug, and he'd show me his lightning bug, and then he'd go back off to catch some more, and I'd go back to my talk. But she was here, and apparently she shot some pictures and wrote a little blurb up, and she had sent me a text message and said I needed to pick up a Farm and Dairy, and so I had to run out and I had to scour around. Had a little difficulty finding one, but I went out and a Tractor Supply had them, and so I went there, picked one up, and I was like, "Oh, be darned, we made the front cover." So that was pretty cool.
That's so.
So I had a
Did you
couple.
get it framed yet?
No, I haven't framed it yet. It's just laying on the kitchen table. Probably has grape jelly on it by now. Now that I think
No.
about
That's
it.
great.
So, because I did have toast this morning. So well, it wasn't toast. It's just bread because my toaster broke in 2004. I haven't got around to getting another one yet, but
Yeah.
so I was kind of
Yeah.
thinking I'd be married by now and I'd have like 4 of them. So, but
Yep.
it hasn't
Yep.
happened
They're
yet.
over.
But speaking of
But
that clover, though, 2 years ago we went through a pretty good drought. And I heard a lot of guys saying that the clover wasn't making seed.
hmm,
And we checked some and there was seed in it. There just wasn't a whole lot. And so I kind of wonder maybe now, just thinking about that, if that is partly why we don't have so much clover as we did before. But we know clover seed can lay in the soil for 50 years and then suddenly
right.
all the conditions hit
Right.
just right and
And
it
and that's
pops up.
where my comment was, not necessarily seed from this year, but like you have it from years past, years
yeah,
prior. And that's, one of the things that, we were making hay on a lot of the ground there on the home farm. It was hard to get in there, and I love clover, but when you're trying to make hay that has clover in it, when you talk about plants that lose nutritional value or digestibility of fiber decreasing,
yep,
clover is one of those plants. If you've ever purchased hay or made hay and you've got some mature, kind of past 12 o'clock red clover, I
yep,
mean, it is borderline woody. I
yep.
mean, there is a lot of lignin in
Oh
that
yeah,
plant. And um, that was, you try to find some of the silver lining items in there. So it's like, well, at least we're going out there, we're gonna rake that hay, we're gonna spread that, knock the seed off the top of that clover, and for every so many plants, it's worth $2 a pound of
yeah,
uncoated clover seed
yeah,
to that we're putting back on the field
yeah,
because our hay is so lignified that we have to find something positive to talk about. So, yeah,
yeah.
that
We'll
would be
definitely be doing.
interesting.
We'll definitely be doing a bunch of frost seeding this winter.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should have a lot of clover next spring, but yeah, it's kind of unnerving. It's the first time ever that we just haven't seen clover all over the place.
And
And
when you're thinking about your projections for, your fall grazing, and what you said with, you've got more sheep there than what you've had in the past. Part of that is traditionally you were selling off those lambs in an earlier age,
yeah,
and you have the grass. Well, you hope you have the grass to graze these. Is it something where you have a list, you automatically know that, well, if we start to run out of grass, I'm planning for X number of days ahead of time?
yep,
Is there a number that you say, I want to have 60 days of, like, for example, I want to have 60 days of grazing for the mature ewe flock? Because you're not going to sell the mature ewes, but you could unload the ram lambs that you have out there grazing. Um, is there a number that you try to plan for, that just a buffer of, I need X number of days to graze ahead of me?
well, we start thinking about stockpiling forage about August 15th. And part of that date, we're going to be bringing in probably 45, 50 ewes to get them ready to breed in September. So there's going to be that group that's going to come off. At the same time, I got 40 in the barn that are going to go out today. They're gonna hit that big flock. We've got a bunch of ewe lambs that are standing in a barn right now that are gonna go out today. There's probably 35 or 40 in there, and most of those are gonna go that August 15th date. They're gonna come back in to be bred. So there's a possibility that if we haven't received a good bit of rain by that August 15th date, we may pull those into one pasture or a dry lot or something to that effect and feed them hay for a while to let this forage grow.
Mm,
But if we're not getting any rain, there's not much sense in doing that. It's I don't know. We just have to wait as we get closer to that date. But August 15th is about what we're looking at because from there on is about the time that we can stockpile. But tell me what the winter's going to be like, and I can tell you
yeah,
more of what we're going to do. It's just kind of up in the air. It's been a long time since I felt like I don't have a plan.
yeah.
I have a
And
plan,
it's,
but we're not really sure that that's the plan we're going to use.
well,
Like
and
the
the
whole
problem
time I'm
is,
gone, it's supposed to rain every day. That's what they're calling for, rain every
good,
day. Will it
good.
rain? Who knows? This summer's been so strange. We've had days where they were not calling for any rain at all, and then, we get these pop-up thunderstorms. And then we've had lots of days where they call for rain and it may rain somewhere around us, but it doesn't rain here. So it's all kind of up in the air and it just seems like it is so dry. it would take 2 days of just a nice soft rain to get things back to where
Mhm.
they should be. It just seems like we are in such a deficit that these little half-inch rains or even three-quarter-inch rains, they just don't seem to do much. The grass greens up a little bit. Like in my yard, the last two half-inch rains we've had, the next day, the yard's all nice and green. The day after that, it's browning up again. It's just been a very bizarre summer.
Yeah, I've got dad at home. Uh, told me the other day, he's like, "Yeah, I was shopping for pivots." I was like, "What? Shopping for pivots?" Like irrigation? He's like, "Yeah, it's too dry out here. We need grass." And and he was of course joking
Yep,
because he and I both know that we'd go and we'd buy a pivot. And we're not going to do that. I think that would be crazy for our neck of the woods. But we'd go and do that, and then the following year we'd have a 60-inch rainfall
yep,
type season. We'd
yep,
have more rain than what we'd ever asked for, and wouldn't be able to make hay because it would rain every other day for the entire summer.
yep.
And it's just what you said. It's bizarre. You know, we were just reminiscing on a couple of years ago. We had like 40 straight days where there was some form of precipitation
Yep,
from late June into August.
yep,
And everybody, that's when you saw all the memes like Midwestern guys going out to make hay, and like people had photoshopped like a bunch of boats pulling
yep,
like hay by it. Like it
yep.
was, it was funny. But it's a double-edged sword. It's like you need some to get it to grow. Then when you're trying to do stuff, and even if you're not making hay, like the hoof issues that come with it, the animal health aspects that come with that rain, with excessive rain, the impact on the soil and our pastures and what we're doing with hoof action has an impact when there's too much rain. So it can't be perfect all the time. And I think if nothing else, if we're gonna title the episode just with what we're talking about now, it's you need multiple plans.
Oh,
Like you have to the planning that goes into your plan making is is just as much work as what your breeding scheme is going to be this fall.
I know.
Because realistically, you need, for what we just talked about, you need 3 or 4 different plans
Yep,
of, well, if I don't get rain when I'm gone, we're pulling everything off and feeding hay. Well, if we do get rain, we're pulling this many off and stockpiling this percentage of the farm.
yep.
Well, if we um, don't get rain and we're feeding excessive hay, I need to move ram lambs. So there's the hard thing is how are you supposed to know which one is the right one to go with? When do you pull the trigger
I know.
and say this is it? This is the threshold that I set up, and we need to haul these things over to Mount Hope.
Yep,
That's a hard thing to do. And then of course the frustrating thing is I think it goes both ways of you sell all those lambs, and then you get rain later, you're like, man, I never should have sold them.
I
Or
know.
you keep all the rams because you're like, I'm gonna wait, the prices are gonna be better in 2 months, and then you're feeding hay, sell them, then you're like, man, I should have sold them 2 months ago.
I know.
And it's
I
and
know.
it's trying to pull those lessons out of the experiences and say, okay, and I don't do a good job of this, but I need to like start actively writing things down so that you could almost look back on experiences, because we tend to something we choose to do something, it doesn't go how we wanted it to, and then we tend to move past it and try to forget about it because it's
Yep,
frustrating.
yep.
But having that ability to reflect on it and turn back to it and say, oh, I remember in 2024 when we had a flash drought, which I had never heard of, and this is what we did.
Yeah,
This didn't work, or this did work. Maybe we can adjust it and try this in today's scenario. So it's a different form of record keeping, but
yeah.
I think it has value.
Oh, I think it does too. It's like I say, this year is just a mess. I'm seeing deer herds. We never see deer herding up until late fall.
Hmm.
But I went out this morning. There's 17 deer standing in one pasture eating.
You run them off. You send your dog out to chase
Well,
them off.
we
Give,
usually see 'em-
give me
we
my
usually,
grass back.
we usually see them over at the neighbors, so we always call them Mike's deer. And I'm thinking I need to call Mike to tell him his deer back home. Get them off
Yeah.
the pastures. They're pretty to stand there and look at.
Yep.
But I was coming back. Oh, I went out to buy that farm and dairy. I was coming back, and there's a hill that typically you kind of always look on both sides of the road because it's a deer crossing, but you never think of this during the day. It's always in the evening. And I was coming down that hill, and there's 8 deer walking across the road in the middle of the day. It's like, what is going on? But
Looking for food
apparently,
or
apparently
water.
it is. Yeah, that could be as well. But yeah, there is just it's just an extremely strange year. And
Yeah.
yesterday I was out and I'm always looking at the bugs and stuff that are out in the field, especially the butterflies, because I like butterflies. And I saw must have been 40 of these little tiny light blue butterflies. And maybe technically maybe they aren't butterflies, but I've never seen these before. I don't know what they were. They're smaller
Hmm.
than the little yellow ones that you always see floating around a mud puddle or
Yep.
mud kind of a thing. They're small. They're about half the size of those. And I've never seen these things before. I don't know what they are. I tried getting pictures of them, but they're way too fast. And then I wouldn't know who to ask in the first place. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just been an extremely strange year. We're starting to get a lot of grasshoppers. That's always a little worrisome. Are we going to end up with a big grasshopper invasion? They're going to wipe out what little bit of grass we have left? I don't know.
Yeah. And I remember this was a couple of years ago, the first time we'd ever dealt with army worms.
Yeah.
And similar situation, we had stockpiled some teff grass, and we're waiting to get in and graze it, and those those little guys stripped everything. And that
Yeah.
was, it's one thing for us to go through it, and it was fine. It was a summer annual playing around thing, and it's like, oh, that's unfortunate. Well, there were a bunch of guys that lost like entire fields of alfalfa,
Oh, yeah.
like third cutting alfalfa, that if they were going to go and make it, it was just going to be stems.
Yeah.
And
You
it's like,
see, I saw pictures that it looked like somebody went out with Roundup and just sprayed part of this field. It was insane. And it was not only the guy's hayfield, but it was the guy's yard as well. Went clear across the hayfield into the guy's yard.
yeah,
Just we've been lucky. We haven't had to deal with that. That may be the next thing on the horizon. I don't know. That'll be a whole nother plan.
all the plagues that are hitting from LPA.
I
So
suppose I have to go buy a bunch of chickens. I would assume chickens would eat those army worms. I don't know.
yeah, hey, that's a good integrated pest management strategy. I
Yeah,
think you'd need a bunch of chickens, but
that's
they
called
could
being.
fertilize at the same time. And I
Yeah,
made the joke to dad. I was like, I wish my sheep would graze like the army worms do. Because
yeah,
literally, I mean, didn't need to try to keep them in with electric wire.
no,
And they just moved straight across that field
yep.
in a single file line.
You're really
Like
good.
they were just out there strip grazing their little heads off. So
Too bad we couldn't do that in the spring before we go to plant crops. That'd be fantastic. Think of the money we'd save on Roundup.
yeah, you should present that to an extension an agronomist, say, I've got this kind of crazy idea. What do you think?
Yeah,
And then just
where can I
watch their
buy?
jaw
Yeah,
for
where can I buy army worms? I want to clean this field off before I
it. Yeah.
go. I don't know that they'd allow you to buy army worms, but well, we're coming
Yep.
up on our time.
You tell them that you've been
Go ahead.
perfect. I was gonna say you could tell them you've been culturing them in your basement. You're gonna turn them loose, and then you might get something called on you.
That might, yeah, that might not be good at all. I
Hmm.
don't know what would happen. So we've managed to waste a half hour here to get an episode in. Well, somebody gets some use out of something we said. I kind of feel,
Planning.
I kind of feel like, yeah, I kind of feel like this episode is a lot like my plans. We're kind of all over the place here. Not really sure what we're talking about.
It's good,
Not really sure what we're gonna do.
good example.
Yeah. So, well, we thank you for listening to another episode of the Grazing Sheep Podcast. You can reach out to me at bigtomperkins@gmail.com. There's a Facebook page, a YouTube channel. We're slowly getting some episodes on there. We want to let you know that September 10th, we're working with Penn State. There's going to be a mantra training course here, and a little bit of body condition score is kind of goes in with all that. Uh, so you can reach out to me if you want to find out some details about that. As you know, when we had the pasture walk, there was quite a few people here that listened to the podcast. I was pretty happy with that. So maybe those folks want to come back out and get trained or just a refresher course in it. So it's been good catching up with you there, Cam, and have fun at your sale. And I think the next episode will be reporting on how that sale went.
Yep, that's the plan.
All right. So we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, Tom. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.